Safety is our #1 concern at the Babes with Bullets camps. Please review this material and make sure you understand these basic safety rules before you arrive at camp. And if you have any questions, give us a call. Start with the basic firearm safety rules. The 3 basic rules are: always keep the muzzle pointed in a safe direction, always keep your finger off of the trigger until you are ready to engage the target, and always keep the gun unloaded until ready for use. Now we're going to elaborate on those 3 basic gun safety rules. #1 is keep the muzzle pointed in a safe direction. At the camps, there are many times when there are multiple people on the line. Downrange is facing the targets, and the firing line usually runs parallel to the berm. We have an imaginary 180-degree plane that runs in line with the shooters and the firing line. You never want to get close to that 180. The muzzle of the gun is coming toward the 180 plane, toward the shooter next to her. That is a definite no. In addition, never point the muzzle at anything you aren't willing to destroy. And it's very easy with a handgun to cross yourself. Always be aware of that muzzle direction and where your body is, especially your offhand, in relationship to that muzzle. The second safety rule is always keep your finger off of the trigger until you're engaging the target. We not only want you to keep your finger off the trigger, we want that finger straight so that I can look down the line and see that your finger is not on the trigger. So at the camp, if you hear the instructors hollering finger, that's usually because we see someone with the finger on the trigger when they're not engaging the target. The third rule, keep the gun unloaded until ready for use. You will arrive each day at the range with an unloaded, bagged gun. You will take your gun out of the bag either in a safe area or under the supervision of one of the instructors. You will never leave the line with a loaded gun, and you will only load the gun under the direct supervision of one of the instructors. Now we're going to show you the proper way to load and unload a revolver. You have 2 choices. The first time we're going to show you a technique where you keep the gun in your strong hand for most of the load and unload. All right. Open the cylinder with the muzzle pointed downrange and down toward the ground, finger outside of the trigger guard. You insert the ammunition, then close the cylinder. The whole time, that finger is straight and never near the trigger. To unload, open the cylinder, point the gun upward, hit the ejector rod, and the rounds are ejected. Now we'll do it again, and this time it will be a technique where you actually switch hands, hold the gun in your weak hand or support hand, and then insert the ammunition with your strong hand. All right? Opens the cylinder, and with her strong hand, it's the ammunition, inserts, close the cylinder all the time, muzzle's downrange, fingers straight. And then to unload, again, open the cylinder, and then she actually swaps hands here, puts the gun in her weak hand, muzzle up, hit the ejector rod, and the ammunition is ejected. So that's the load and unload with the revolver. Next, we're going to demonstrate how to load a semi-automatic. We're going to start, go ahead and draw, with the slide locked in the rear position. So if you start, you need to load your firearm with the slide already locked back, finger straight, off the trigger, and she's got this gun in her shooting grip, so she has complete control of the gun before she introduces the ammunition. Now, with the gun up at chest level or even eye level, insert the magazine. Then with the gun muzzle pointed downrange, you have 2 choices. You can either push the slide stop down to lower the slide, or you can simply grab the rear of the slide, pull it to the rear, and let go. So those are the 2 ways you can load your semi-automatic. Now we're going to load a semi-automatic with the slide in the forward position. Again, Judy's finger is straight off the trigger. The gun is in her shooting grip with her strong hand. She's going to get the magazine in her support hand, insert it into the mag well. You still must get around into the chamber. So, with the muzzle pointed downrange, the magazine is in the gun. To chamber the round, The hill of the palm comes up against the left side of the firearm, and she just grips with the fingers, push forward with the strong hand, back with the weak hand, and just let go. When the slide goes forward, there will be a round chambered, and the gun will be loaded. Now we have Sheila here to show us the proper way to unload a semi-automatic. Sheila has a loaded firearm with the muzzle pointed downrange, finger off of the trigger. She's first going to remove the magazine. Once the magazine is removed, then she still has to get the round out of the chamber. So she's going to grab the rear of the slide, pull the slide back. The round is ejected out of the injection port. Then she's physically going to inspect the chamber. It's a shooter's responsibility to inspect the chamber after every unload. In our case at the camps, we're also going to insist that you have your neighbor on the line also inspect your chamber. So Sheila will check her chamber, then she's going to show it to her neighbor. All right, you're clear. Now the gun is unloaded. We're not going to cover range safety and the range commands that you will hear at the Babes with Bullets camps. The first thing we'll do is call the shooters to the line. Shooters to the line. This is your cue to come to the designated firing line, form as straight a line as possible, and then wait for the next command. Once your line has formed, we have an imaginary 180-degree plane that runs parallel to this line. You never want your muzzle to come anywhere near that 180, like this. Now the muzzle is pointed downrange, but as she brings the muzzle either to her right or left, she's getting very close to the 180-degree plane. This is too close when people are on either side of you. Cease fire. Obviously, during the camp, the instructors will give ceasefire commands, but keep in mind that anyone on the range can give a ceasefire command, and no matter who says ceasefire, if you hear ceasefire, stop what you're doing immediately, get your finger off the trigger if you're shooting, keep the muzzle pointed in a safe direction, and then await further commands. When you come to the line, we will first explain the drill that we are fixing to shoot and the start position. It will go something like this. Eyes and ears. Load and make ready. This is the time that you will, keeping the muzzle pointed in a safe direction, the finger off the trigger, you will actually load your firearm and then return to the start position. In this case, our start position is known as the surrender position. When everyone has assumed the start position, the next command is, are you ready? If you're not ready, holler out now. Just say, not ready. Shooters ready. Stand by. On the audible signal, the shooters draw, engage their target in the appropriate number of rounds as the instructions were given. Then they reholster, go back to the start position, and await the next run. Sometime, if we don't have an audible start signal, we will simply give the fire command. So in that case, the commands would be, are you ready, stand by, fire. When everyone is reholstered or returned to the start position, we'll give the ceasefire command. Again, when you hear a ceasefire command, stop immediately if you haven't already reholstered. Ceasefire! The next command will be unload and show clear. This is when we unload the firearm and check the chamber to make sure it is empty. Unload and show clear. The first thing we will do is take the magazines out of the semi-automatics or open the revolver cylinders. Then rack the slide to get the round out of the chamber. And then visually inspect the chamber yourself and then show your neighbor an unloaded chamber.
You're clear? You're clear?
The next command is slide down. So after they have checked their chamber, the slide goes forward. Hammer down, at which time you point the muzzle in a safe direction, downrange, and pull the trigger, and holster. So those commands again are slide down, hammer down, and holster.